Okay, we've got another function about an inverse, another question about an inverse function. I've got an original function, I want to find its inverse, then I need to think about its domain. Okay, let's do those in steps. So I'm going to do the algebra bit first. Okay, so remember the template is we think about what f does, and then immediately we say what f inverse does, and then we sort out the algebra. So for f, something is going to equal 6 over x plus 2, but remember the template is to say instead of f of x, I'm going to call the output y. X is always the input. Okay, what happens when I go from f to its inverse? Answer, the input and output swap places. So x and y interchange, so x equals 6 over y plus 2. Okay, but this is a bit strange because I've got the input as the subject of the formula. I'd like to have the output y as the subject of the formula, so I need to rearrange. So I'm going to say x brackets y plus 2, I'm multiplying both sides by y plus 2, equals 6, because I've multiplied by this y plus 2, and then the easiest thing to do next is to divide by the x, so y plus 2 equals 6 over x. And then I've got to make y the subject, so y equals 6 over x, take away 2, and that's worked out very nicely. Okay, I don't have any pesky plus or minuses to worry about in this example. Okay, all right, now I'm asked to find its domain. Okay, so the original domain was x is not equal to minus 2. Okay, so although it actually hasn't asked me, okay, remember what happens with going from a function to its inverse is that range and domain change places. So the range of this final function, okay, is going to be the not equal to minus 2 bit. That was the original domain, so it's now the range. What does not equal to minus 2? Oh, I didn't quite finish this off. This is y, but I need to call it f inverse of x to finish off the argument. Didn't quite finish my template there. Okay, now I have, so I'm all right again. So what does not equal to minus 2? Answer f inverse of x. That's how we define ranges. Okay, all right, but I want to say what the domain is. The domain is what values x can be. All right, now if I knew the range of the original function, then I'd be all right. Okay, but it isn't obvious necessarily what the range of this is. Okay, but I get the sense that it's going to be a similar kind of pattern to this. Okay, let's think about why the domain of the original function was x is not equal to minus 2. Well, the answer to that is if I'm doing a division, I've got a problem if I divide by a value of 0. I can divide by positive, I can divide by negative, but I can't divide by 0. So that's why they're saying x is not allowed to equal minus 2. Okay, so in fact we've got all possible inputs to this going on. Okay, if you want to know what this graph is, it's a bit like the graph of 1 over x. Okay, the graph of 1 over x looks like this. You should know that one. Okay, this is a transformation of that. You could actually get from 1 over x to this using transformations. And what those transformations do is they muck around the asymptotes. Okay, so the asymptotes of this graph, they do a bit of stretching and shifting, and at least one of the asymptotes changes. All right, but there's just one value you're not allowed to put into this, which is actually minus 2. With the 1 over x graph is where the asymptote is, which is x is 0. This is y equals 1 over x, and I'm not allowed to divide by 0, so that's why it's the asymptote. Okay, and there's just one value that we can't get out. So knowing that about the graph, I'm expecting for my inverse function, I don't know what it is yet, but I'm expecting the domain to be everything except for one particular value. So the domain's going to have the form x can be anything except one particular value that I've got to ban. So with this one here, the value we had to ban was minus 2, because x equaling minus 2 gave me that division by 0 problem. So what value of x will give me a problem here? Well, the minus 2 isn't going to be a problem at all. The bit where I'm doing the division is in this 6 over x bit. What value of x could give me a problem? Well, the only thing I'm not allowed to divide by is 0. So the domain of this, the banned value of x is 0, so the domain is x is everything except 0. So I've answered the question. I know what f inverse of x is as a function, and I know what its domain is, so these are the two parts of my answer, and as a bonus I wrote down what the range of the inverse function is.